chosen ones have kept you for such a time as this. Return with your hearts, not just with your lips.
Ever so often we meet someone in our lives who clicks with our own personalities, and pretty soon a friendship develops. Well, that didn't happen to Steve Fairley and I. No, I'm joking. Quite the opposite. In fact, Steve and I seemed to mesh right away from the get-go. Wait, I think that's a Scottish expression, get-go. Who knows? Well, Steve would know. Steve, is that a Scottish expression, get-go?
I don't think it is. I hate to burst your bubble there, but I don't think it is a Scottish expression. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Stephen Fairley, one of my favorite people on this planet. He is one of our On the Messianic Fringe producers. He'll be bringing us news stories with a twist and how they tweak for or against our Torah lifestyle. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. It's a real honor and a privilege to be part of it. So
well, thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you, brother. I don't know if you can tell, but Steve is from a faraway land. How's the weather there in that faraway land of yours?
Well, these days I have to check my phone to see what the weather's doing in Scotland since I have now live in Oklahoma, of all places. So.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
You have to check it the way we do. I just joking around there.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, well, okay. So I know you're not in Scotland, but you know we have other people in other countries on staff here, and I thought it would be cool to have someone actually in Scotland. So maybe when you take a trip over there next time, we'll call you from there, and you can talk to us.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah, and you know, I think eventually we might move back. So you know, then I could truly be the Scotsman in Scotland reporting for you. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, how often do you get back, brother?
It seems that my track record is every 3 years. We had planned on maybe going back this year, but we might not. We might not be able to do that. I would like to, but we have some other things that we'd like to do. As far as I think we're going to be selling our house, and so that might take up our time and some of our money too. So, but you know, I do miss home. You know, I miss my family, and I also miss some of the weather and so on, the scenery. You know, the Highlands.
I'm sure. You've traded off that beautiful scenery for Oklahoma.
Yes, took me a little while to get used to how flat it is here. I'd drive along on the interstate and just wonder how you know, how somewhere could be so flat, you know, in contrast to where I grew up. So yeah. It was quite a change for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Kansas. It's not much different. I love to go to other parts of the states, like the Smoky Mountains. My wife and I love the Smoky Mountains, and even yet, that's still different in Scotland, I'm sure.
Yeah, I do like the mountains. I don't know if it's because of where I grew up, but I am kind of drawn to them. That's what I like. Mountains and lakes and so on, or lochs as we call them in Scotland. So that's what I'm used to, I suppose.
Well, I think all of us have seen the gorgeous, beautiful rolling hills and beaches and all of that of Scotland. Is that the normal view there? Is that the whole Scotland? Is all those beautiful sceneries, or is it normal like here? You know?
Well, it depends. I mean, there's the highlands and the lowlands, and even the lowlands still have are hilly. It's not a very flat place. If you go north, there are mountains, and there's actually the further north you go, the fewer people there are. but it like the city I used to live in is built on 7 hills. So, it is a hilly place. More mountain. If you want to see mountains, you'll have to go north. But it's very green. It stays green all year round. It rains a lot. So that's one of the reasons why it stays green. So I'm not used to in Oklahoma things after the summer. Your grass kind of turns this yellowy brown color, which I wasn't used to either.
Yeah. Right, I understand. Well, Steve and I have been friends for going on about 5 years now, about the same amount of time you've been Messianic. Tell us about your Messianic background, brother, or your background before becoming Messianic and that transition.
Well, I grew up in what's called the Church of Christ, and when I moved over here, it was about it's actually 7 years since I've moved over here. We'd actually been looking for the truth, and we didn't really know what that looked like. But when we left Scotland, we were looking for that, and so basically, my wife she's a teacher, and she taught at the same school that Anne Judah was teaching at. Anne was actually a new teacher, and she'd been given some advice in her schooling that one of the things she should do when she becomes a teacher is to make friends with a special ed teacher, which happens to be my wife. And so she walked into Jennifer's classroom, and they became very good friends. And eventually, she actually invited us to come to B'nai Shalom, and we were at a place where we really didn't know. We were looking for the truth and really didn't know. We decided it wasn't going to be another Christian denomination, and it just didn't feel right. And so we went along to B'nai Shalom, and I suppose we've kind of been going there ever since. We did it before we went there, though. We went to the Judahs for our Hanukkah one evening. So, because Hanukkah was interesting to us, we never celebrated that or didn't really know much about it. So, but we've really enjoyed learning the Torah. It's been a real blessing to us.
Very good. So tell us about. I think it's a great story about you and your wife Jennifer, and how you met. You met over in Scotland, and what she was doing. Give me a little background on that, brother.
Well, when I graduated from high school, I actually moved to Edinburgh, which is the capital of Scotland, and I went to Edinburgh University. And I was still in the Church of Christ then, and they had a Church of Christ in Edinburgh that I went to, and my wife, or my future wife, she was working with a youth group there. She had actually got her teaching degree, but she wasn't in a position where she was ready to teach, and she'd actually been she'd spent 2 years of her university at Harding University, which is a Christian university, and one of the things they do is they'll send chorus groups to Europe, to Scotland, and they'll go around different congregations singing and kind of blessing people with that. And she had actually come across this congregation doing that with this Harding University, and she fell in love with Edinburgh, and when she graduated, she decided that she wanted to go there, and so she'd worked with a youth group, and then I met her there, and we were friends for probably a couple of years, where she was actually my best friend before we started seeing each other, for want of a better expression, and it just kind of went from there, and we got married, and becoming Messianic, we actually did that together. I know in a lot of marriages it can be one or it's not often that both go into it together. So we were blessed in that. So that's kind of I suppose, a short version of the story.
Wonderful. It's a great, great story, brother. I love it. Well, your background in history studies make our conversations go deeper when you and I get together and talk about a lot of things that we talk about. And tell us about, you've already kind of told us about the college, but how that helps you understand the Torah lifestyle. How you and I talk about history, and I love it when you have some of your history stories in there. Explain that to us a little bit.
Well, I have a degree in ancient history, which is simply Greek and Roman history, and it just fascinated me. They often tell you, oftentimes people will study with a career in mind, and I found that degree, and it just interested me, and so ever since I've studied that, I've always been interested in ancient peoples. It's a period of history where there's not often a lot of there's not a lot of a written record for what happened, and then you have also archaeology, and sometimes you have to play almost a detective trying to piece together what may have happened or what life was like. So obviously with an interest in the ancient peoples, the Israelites leaving Egypt is of real interest to me, as well as trying to figure out, obviously the Egyptians were not going to want to record such an event in their history, since it was basically a humiliation, trying to figure out is there a record somewhere of that in secular history? That's kind of an example of where my degree kind of fits into what our Messianic lifestyle is. So I don't know if that.
No, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It all applies, since though the past 2,000 years have been dominantly that Greek and Roman part of it, battling with our understanding of our Hebrew heritage.
Yeah.
So that's very true, and I love it, brother. What type of stories do you plan on bringing to us here at the Messianic Lifestyle, Steve?
Well, it's obviously got to be it's stories that I find interesting, but it's also maybe something that's not in the mainstream media, not something that you're going to hear about on ABC or any of those mainstream media outlets. It might be something that maybe that they don't necessarily want you to know about that's out there. And something that's obviously interesting to us as Messianics, something that we can, something that we need to know about, really.
Good.
Maybe something thought-provoking that you hadn't thought of before. I like truth, and that's what I try to seek. So I'll be looking for what's really going on in this world that we live in.
Good. That's what we're looking for. I guess that's why we call it On the Messianic Fringe.
Yeah.
Brother, what does it mean to you to live life Torah style?
It's a really great question, and I've really enjoyed hearing the various responses that you've had on that question. For me, I remember when I was in the church, and it used to be, I used to feel that it didn't matter what you did from Sunday to Sunday. It seemed to matter more what you did on that Sunday morning in your worship and so on. And I always felt that worship was a daily thing. It was what you did when you were out in the world. And I didn't necessarily know what that looked like. And now with learning Torah, I can see that the way I live my life, being obedient to the Lord, is not just people see it as following all these old rules and so on. But for me, it's also it's a way of worship. It's a way of worshiping the Lord in the way that I live. It's one of the main ways I feel of showing my love for the Lord is in the way that I live. And so it's not just about what I do when I get together with other Messianics. It's about how I live my life during the week when I'm at work or with people who don't know the Lord necessarily. That's kind of what it's all about for me.
Very true. That's probably the most important thing right there. The Lord knows us in both places, our quiet places and secret places and public places, and the people should see that we live that life. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Well, I love you, brother, and I personally look forward to hearing your articles. We are all familiar with the expression, live long and prosper. I don't know, I do know where it comes from, but all I know is that I want you and your wife to live long so I can enjoy your company. Purely a selfish thing, I'm sure, but I also want you to prosper simply because God wants you to prosper, and you can't go wrong with that. You bet. You can't go wrong with what the Lord wants, can we? So now let's get on to your first article. What do you say?
All right. Sounds good.
Good. Well, crank it up, brother. Do they say that in Scotland? Crank it up? I don't know these things. I'm from Kansas.
They say it when the right music is playing. Yeah.
Okay. Shalom, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Shalom. Okay, thanks. Bye.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
What does it mean to you to live life Torah style?
Torah lifestyle to me personally is actually about the sacrificial lifestyle, the willingness to lay down one life for others. So like our Master Yeshua also live as a Torah, to interpret the Torah perfectly, and how he lived a sacrificial lifestyle and to live his life, to lay down his life for others to live on. So this is what I interpret it.
Do not touch that dial. Do not click off that page. We are Lamb Radio. Don't go away. Your show will start after a brief pause.